Hello. Welcome to Vote 24 TV, the Kakis Dialogue, the Kamara Abdullah Kamara Dialogue. Today we are going to be engaging you on a very important theme. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Liberians, welcome again to Vote 24 TV. This is the Kakis Dialogue. Kakis Dialogue is bringing reason to generative themes in the Liberian body politics and the Liberian governance and policy processes. We're happy to be here today and to be on your screen wherever you are watching from, whether Facebook or YouTube. You can like, follow, and share our videos. We are aiming at increasing the number of our followers to be able to have a better reach of the Liberian people. Today we have the honor of strolling through the Facebook pages in Liberia, and one thing that we came across consistently was that there was a celebration of the late Alhaji G.V. Kroma, and in that celebration you had Samatue and you had Dr. H. Boema family amongst other people. We have Dr. H. Boema family and Samatue amongst other people, and H. Boema family in particular, as we all know, took the mark and of course mesmerized the crowd. It is always a scene when H. Boema family speaks. He's such a captivating speaker and he attracts a lot of young people. But today I want to play a little bit of his message on which I want to dwell a little bit on today. He was very pointed when he spoke to the Liberian people, and one message seems to be very clear amongst all of what he said, and one message seems to be very scary too. And for that purpose also, he mentioned getting engaged in political processes, even though he's a retired general. But I'll play his clip for you so that you can be able to listen. It's a 20 minutes long clip, but we just play the essential portion of his message that you need to listen to.
This brother was discuss politics today. I've retired from political life. I'm here to honor a brother and friend in the country, Oligarchy. We leave politics for those who feel that they have much to explain. My brother and friend from Sino, Brother Dew Traore Mason, has this very interesting say. He says the people of Sino says, when the tide recedes, we're going to find out those who are swimming naked. When the tide recedes, when the water goes back, we will find out those who were swimming naked in the water. In this country, role models. I like their brothers who are smarter than I am. Their brothers who are sitting here, they want to say a few words. And I cannot monopolize the space, I cannot take the space. But all I can say, we have got role models in this country, role models. Alagi Gidi Krumah, Amos Kwanasoya, even some of the women. These are strong people. We must hold them up so our children can follow them, they can emulate them. Don't force us to tell our children to follow thieves and con men. No. You have been unfair to our people. Our children must know who the heroes are. They must appreciate those who have struggled for this country, those who have bled, those who have gone to prison. I was a political prisoner at the age of 17 during my father's trial. People have struggled, yeah, and then others come. They want to ride the tide and tell our people they have all the solution. You got no solution.
So this was the message from Comrade H. Boema Fambule. He said, when the tide recedes, when the water goes backward, when you're swimming in the ocean and the tide recedes, that is the point at which we get to identify those people who were naked in the ocean. Because in the ocean, there are a lot of perverted activities that goes on while people are swimming. But you don't see that because the tide is high. But when the tide recedes, you get to see those who are naked and doing all kinds of things. Such is the case with those who get protected because they have the covering of the administration. So they are involved with all kinds of corruption, but because they are covered by a particular administration, we say the tide is high. But when the tide recedes, there is the point at which you begin to see the nakedness of those people who are in the ocean, engaged in perverted activities. He went on to say that the people should know their heroes. The standard of society now has diverted the people's attention to common, corrupt individuals. Dr. Famula does not have to come to remind us. Like he said, he's a retired general. He has retired from politics. But it seems to us that the battlefield is left bare. We come to think that Dr. Famula and the likes of Dr. Famula who fought yesterday to create the kind of environment that we find ourselves in today must come back to complete our generation mission. Dusty Wolokoli likes to say that their generation had a mission and they fulfilled that mission. It is the generation after who must fulfill her mission clearly. The struggle in Liberia now is an economic struggle. People like to put it very simple these days and refer to it as a bread and butter issue. But there are scary things happening in Liberia, and we have to pay attention, or else we are going to be consumed by what is happening right now. There is emerging a solidification of an oligarch. There is emerging an oligarchy in Liberia. Whether you know it or not, that is the situation in Liberia. Just oligarchy, the budget capture, and the moral collapse of a nation. That's the warning to Liberia. At Vote 24 TV and Kaki's Dialogue, we always said that a better Liberia is possible. Good evening, Liberians. Tonight, I will not whisper to you. Dr. Famula has said it quite clear. And we should not decorate the truth in Liberia. There are a lot of people positioning themselves as advocates, but what I like to call them are mercenary advocates, because their advocacies are directed by their sponsors, their patrons, those who put money in their pockets. Those were not the kind of advocacy that we engaged in the 90s, early 2000s. I will not pretend that what we are witnessing is ordinary politics in Liberia. It is not. We are not witnessing ordinary politics in Liberia anymore. What we are seeing in Liberia today is the early architecture of oligarchy. If it is not mature, if it has not matured to the mid-level, we are witnessing an early architecture of oligarchy. A small circle orbiting the national budget, accumulating wealth at a speed that insults common senses. There is an emergence of an oligarchy in Liberia, and what they know best is the budget. They are orbiting the budget and they are owning the budget. They are using the budget to accumulate wealth at an astronomical proportion. They are doing this while ordinary citizens sink deeper into economic stagnation. This is widespread. It is known by people who read economics, who follow the Liberian economy. They understand this. They are intellectually versed. They are intellectually powerful. Sometimes those intellectuals will make a choice whether to be on the side of the people or to dilly-dally with those oligarchs. It is not romance and it's not a gossip. We got to be very, very clear that this exists in Liberia. The fiscal year 2026 budget, the national budget, stands at 1.2 billion. I read on the Facebook, Chairman Patrick Umbayo was raising concern that why, since December, the budget had not been placed on the website of the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning so that the public is able to have access to it. Later on, he further published that after a series of advocacy on social media, we've managed to have the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning publish the budget. So there is a draft budget which is 1.2, or there is a budget which is 1.2 billion. And that is a 37% increase over the previous year. And that sounds very impressive. But there is the thing that the budget analysts will call the recurrent expenditure. And this says that the recurrent expenditure of 929.6 million is 76.7% of the entire budget. In the public sector investment funding will claim 23.2% of the entire budget. So a huge 200 million is a one-time money that comes from ArcelorMittal. Now ask yourself, when sudden large pool of money enters a weak oversight system, what happens? Do you think that it's going to go to development first? Do you think that it's going to go to JFK? Do you think that it's going to go to building more schools or improving our school in terms of affordability and access and quality? You do not get development first from those increase in the budget. What you get is competition. Competition amongst politicians. You get procurement maneuverings. You get contract politics. Who gets the contract and how they give kickbacks. There are a lot of maneuvering. The politicians are on the extra money that comes through the budget. And of course, you get the sustaining of the oligarchy network. I don't want to bog you down with the budget much because the numbers are there. But the important thing is that the oligarchs are around to manipulate the budget and to be able to create a condition to empower themselves by what one of our senior brother referred to as the budgetization of corruption. So let's examine a little bit the sector allocation. For public administration, we have 465.6 million. Security and the rule of law, 151 million. Education, we have 132 million. Health, we have 101 million. Agriculture is 13.6 million. Say that again. Agriculture is 13.6 million. And agriculture is at the bedrock of the arrest agenda. The sector that employs a significant share of our population receives barely 1% of the total budget. Yes, that is it. And so if that is the case, then agriculture seems to be removed significantly from what the president described as the job creation strategy. because in the job creation strategy, agriculture is one of those critical sectors that the president mentioned that they are looking to be able to create jobs. But this is 13 million going to the agriculture sector. What does that tell you? What does that tell you, Liberians? It tells you that the system feeds itself before it feeds the people. Nobody cares about agriculture. Nobody cares about agriculture. Nobody cares about agriculture. Now let us confront what everyone sees. There are men in politics, people who enter politics with modest means, nothing to show. They now display wealth inconsistent with official salaries. Musa Ability is known to be the wealthiest man in Liberia, but he once said he might not be the wealthiest man in Liberia. People consider him the wealthiest man in Liberia only because they're able to identify his wealth, because it's not in hidden. But there are people who have more money than he has, but they cannot show their wealth because those are stolen wealth. And I would like to agree with him. There are possibilities that a lot of people have more money than most ability, but because they cannot account for the ill-gotten wealth, they are afraid. And in most instances, because they are hiding this wealth, what happens is that when they die, those people who they entrust with the wealth, often foreigners, because they are afraid to entrust Liberians with those ill-getting wealth because of fear that they are going to be exposed. They tend to trust foreigners. And at the end of the day, when they die, those foreigners become very rich off the back of the Liberian people. The system explains this as business sources. Most of them would be claiming that they are business people. They claim to have sources in business. Private investment, personal blessing. But if you check, before they start to be successful in business, they were already stealing the money from the Liberian people. And they will just begin to use business as a means of laundering the stolen wealth. They have contracts circulating amongst familiar networks, the oligarchs. You see, they have their placements in all of these key agencies. The finance ministry, for example, is overshadowed by the oligarchs. So The finance minister, many people have told me that the finance minister is just a superficial figure head of the ministry. But the oligarchs have planted their people and they are in total control from the budget formulation to the budget appropriation. They are in total control. The unmanned procurement such that it lacks visible competitiveness. Asset accumulation coincide with budget assets. They get wealthy because they have access to the budget. They own the budget committee. There is a direct correlation. The richest people in Liberia now are the people who have direct access to the budget. They own the budget committee. They own the budget committee. You are watching in politics in Liberia the assembly of the oligarch. The oligarch is not going to announce itself. We have to open our eyes and understand they cut across party lines. They have no respect for political parties. They can move and shift anytime. We have to be able to identify their characters. What matters to them is the budget. What matters to them is the hijacking of the budget. What matters to them is the containment of the budget. What matters to them is a control over the budget. The oligarchs is reflected in budget lines, in contract approvals, oversight gaps, and once they get into all of these things, their major attention is to protect themselves. Their major focus is to protect themselves. And most of these people are some of the backward elements of our society. Their limitation does not allow them to push for any kind of productivity, efficiency in the public space. Their limitation will only allow them to create the condition for the reproduction of subservient characters. This is even darker. They celebrate social degeneracy. We now live in a public environment in Liberia where man-curse, vulgarity is a trend led by the celebrity Prophet Key. We now live in a Liberia where intellectual emptiness goes viral. We live in a Liberia where sycophancy is cheered very quickly. We have one of the biggest political sycophant in Henry Costa, but the guy is very popular. The Liberian people, no matter which side he swayed on, he moved the people. We live in a Liberia where insults substitutes for policy. Academic shallowness is marketed as authenticity. During the last election, individuals whose political capital was outrage and insults were embraced. Were embraced. They were praised by a lot of people. A lot of our comrades who we refer to as intellectuals as well, they were praised. Why? Because outrage were used to mobilize. But here is the thing, when leaders reward indecency for political convenience, they institutionalize decay. And this is a worrisome scene in Liberia. A society that applauds its most undisciplined voices will soon lose disciplined ones. Because the young people graduating from the University of Liberia and other universities around, in the absence of job, would think that the path of Prophet Key is one of the best paths to take. Particularly so when Prophet Key continued to win even the judiciary. No matter what. Prophet Key was invited by the judiciary recently to answer question why he should not be held in contempt. I know for sure he's not going to be held in contempt. But the misstep of the judiciary in the first place to invite him and later let him lose because there is no case of contempt against him is going to be interpreted by the late minds in Liberia as the judiciary succumbing to Prophet Key because he's a very, very powerful person. And what makes him very powerful is the man cause that he causes. He even used the man cause in Gio. That is what makes Prophet Key a very interesting man. He used the man cause in Gio. Young Liberians are not blind. They see. They're seeing everything. Sudden wealth accumulation, we are looking. Budget center enrichment, we are looking. No consequence, we are looking. Impunity, We are watching. People will come and speak out. There is no transparency. No transparency. We come to ask the question, why? What are the young people learning? The culture of impunity, the culture of patronage. Are we going to read our history lesson to those young people and tell them that these were conditions that existed in the past? And these were conditions that precipitated the civil conflict in our country? Are we going to lecture our young people and inform them about those history lessons? One of our senior brothers will always say that in a state of lawlessness, you do not allow yourself to be pinned down by the law. And a simple demonstration happens in Waterside all of the time. The Marketing Association, the government will want the marketers to go and sit in the market hall. But there will be few of them who will always be outside. And those few get their markets purchased first. They get in contact with the consumer first. So the consumer will hardly want to take PE. Young people call it PE. If you work just to go use your own money, they say you took PE to go buy. So the buyers would rather buy from those people who are readily available outside of the market hall than for them to go climb upstairs to go into the market hall and buy. That is a state of lawlessness. Those who sit in the market hall and choose to abide by the law, they suffer a dangerous consequence. So when the society slip into the state of lawlessness, you do not expect the young people to follow established norms. That is why Dr. Famula was calling attention to what are we going to teach our young people? Are we going to show them that there existed heroes, like he mentioned Dr. Sawyer? There existed heroes, there existed role models that the young people can aspire to be like. Who are the role models now? The Yeke Koluba, the Darius Delon, the Prophet Key. Those are the role models. There are Thomas Fowler, Prince Moi. Those are the role models. So who going to stop the young people from following those people? There'll be a young man who will say, I don't really need to go to school. I can be senator of Monserrato County. Darius Delon did it, I can do it. I don't need to go to school. I just need to be smart and be able to talk like Darius Delon. That's the role model. Thomas Fowler. I don't need to do too much. I just need to get a godfather, ride on, get elected. Just circle around, be among the budget clique. make some money from the budget, and become rich. That is what our young people are learning. They are learning sudden wealth accumulation, budget center enrichment. That is what our young people are learning. They are learning that shortcuts matters more than study. You don't have to study anymore. And a very beautiful conspiracy is shown with the University of Liberia. Those guys have broken down system at the University of Liberia to the extent that education there is not prioritized. Education is not prioritized. There is no interest in ensuring that the students have a responsible leadership, a leadership that has all of the legitimacy that the students can listen to, and that would be the conduit through which the students engages the administration. Students are not supposed to engage the administration all by themselves. The university itself has degenerated to the extent that the first options of the students is confrontation. It didn't just start by accident. It was a calculated plan. Students, young people are learning that shortcut matters more than study. They are impatient. That connection matters more than competence. The private sector does not have a lot of jobs. Most of the jobs are with the public sector, but nobody gets job in the public sector out of competence nowadays. You must either be green or blue. In Liberia currently, it is noise over knowledge. Noise over knowledge. You have to be able to make noise. Stand on the platform and insult your opponents. Political opponents. Insult political opponents. Your patrons is going to recognize you and clap for you. You have to go on Facebook and ring insult at opponents. Connections over competence. Noise over knowledge. That is the Liberia that we live in today. This is how moral collapse spreads. It is becoming a culture. It's becoming a culture. It's not true revolution. It's true imitation. Who are the role models that Dr. Famula was talking about? Does he have to go all the way to Dr. Amos Sawyer? The young people of today are far removed from Dr. Amos Sawyer, but who can we look at? Those people who we're supposed to refer to as role models are themselves whining and dining with those very bankrupt elements who continue to corrupt our society and our young people. those people who we're supposed to refer to as role models are accomplices in the crimes of social degeneracy. We have to speak out, we have to identify this issue, and we have to confront them. Liberia is not doing well, but we always say a better Liberia is possible. Like I made mention the other time, that instead of having a corrupt individual as the Arab boss, the asset recovery boss, the campaign of the Unity Party was ran with the name of John Molu. The president made it very clear and made it very public that one of the first person that he will employ in his government will be John Molu. What happens? What transpired? We don't know, but there is no John Molu. The president knows very well that John Molu has the competence and the political muscles, the will to chase after corrupt individuals with precision. But where is John Molu? Where is John Molu? That's the question that we ask. John Molu is nowhere around. Is it too late to bring John Molu? No. If we are serious about the fight against corruption, Dr. Famula talk about that. If we are serious about the fight against corruption, where is John Molu? Democracy requires accountability, trust, institutional integrity. But when oversight institutions are politically pressured, budget transparency exists on paper, but not in enforcement. Citizens suspect elite capture. Trust erodes. And when the trust erodes, we are going to chaos. Citizens can be manipulated at any time to get on the street. And without trust, election becomes very procedural. It becomes a procedural ritual. You just follow election for the process of it. We all are aware that democracy does not die only through coups. Coups is not what kills democracy. Democracy dies when people start to engage in all of this manipulation and lack of accountabilities and maneuvering of the budget and the denial of citizens a share of the wealth. We are not in any way trying to call our people to chaos. We're only trying to warn our people to pay attention to where Liberia is going. Forget about the names in politics. Forget about Musa Beliti. Forget about Alexander Cummings. Forget about George Weah. Forget about Joseph Yuma Boaka. Pay attention to the budget. Who controls the budget? Those are the people you have to pay attention to. Those who control the budget are the people who are controlling the government right now. Liberia has survived wars, but let me tell you that throughout the war, we had people ahead of us who stood as moral compasses, who will guide society into navigating the right path. War is not the worst thing that can happen to Liberia. What is happening to Liberia now is worse than war. Moral collapse is harder to be rebuilt from when we allow our country to collapse morally, where people form cheering squad for people who are morally bankrupt. If we breed that culture, to remove ourselves from it is going to be almost impossible. Infrastructure can be repaired, but integrity has to be retaught. And retraining of the mind is one of the most difficult things to do. That is why we have to appreciate our teachers. Fellow Liberians, here is a nation where agriculture gets crumbs, administration expands, there is a committee or a new agency established for yellow machines. As we move through, the oligarchy network consolidates because they existed during the Weah administration. They still exist today. The network continued to consolidate. If the Liberian people do not make the effort to break that network, we are going to bear the consequence. It is going to result into the total collapse of Liberia. We can't build peace on patronage. You cannot build dignity on budget capture. We cannot build democracy on moral bankruptcy. The patterns are very visible. The question is, do we have the spine? Do we have the spine to confront the oligarch now? Or are we going to normalize them until reform becomes impossible? At Vote 24 TV, we're not going to normalize decline because silence itself means surrender. And Liberia is worth fighting for. We did it yesterday. We can still do it today. Because we always believe that a better Liberia is possible. Good night and have a blessed day. Thank you for watching. This is Vote 24 TV, and you are watching the Kakis Dialogue, the Kamara Abdullah Kamara.